just want to say real quick, my priorities, ABC. We're gonna assure election integrity. There's a lot of bills running through the legislature right now. We'll have to wait to see the end of the session, what they accomplish and what they don't accomplish and what is left to be done. Border security. Anybody hear about this little problem down on our southern border?
Yeah.
Arizona is being, I say, invaded from the south. We're under assault from the east, from Washington DC, and we're being invaded from the south.
In the west from California.
In the west. But it's a 50-state border war, and we just happen to be on the front lines. It's estimated that Arizona spends $2 billion a year in the cost of illegal immigration in our state. Last year I got a briefing from last week I got a briefing from the Department of Corrections. Just in our prisons, we have 2,400 criminal aliens in our prisons. Cost us $78 million just to house them. Think about how many police officers or teachers we can hire with $78 million. So anyway, you can check out my website. I've got my border plan up there and what we plan to do. And the third thing, C, is choice in education. And I understand from my travels around, in fact, Hunter Moore was so kind late last year to help organize a number of visits for me up here in Navajo County and Show Low, Snowflake, Pine Top. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the needs of education up here. Very different from the urban areas, very different. You know, you talk about charter schools up here, and people don't want charter schools. You've got good public schools up here, but you want the resources to go to your schools, not caught in this big bureaucracy at the top. And so it was very helpful to me. Thank you again, Hunter, for organizing that visit. But we got a lot of work to do in education, but I believe parents and families should be able to choose where their child goes to school. And I believe the money should follow the kid.
Yeah.
The one-size-fits-all education of the past doesn't work anymore. We've got technology that allows us, you know, to deliver education in many different forms. Whether it's charter school, public school, private school, micro school, home school, whatever it is. Parents should be the ones that are in control and in charge of their children's education. So assuring election integrity, border security, and choice in our educational system. Those will be my 3 priorities. And then keeping Arizona. There's so many people moving here from elsewhere. How many of you are Arizona natives? How many of you came here from somewhere else?
We don't want anybody.
So they say 70% of the adult population in Arizona came here from somewhere else.
70%?
70% of the adults. Now, what I tell you is that tells me that Arizona is red at heart. Because the people that came here from somewhere else, who left families, homes, jobs, traditions, you left everything behind to come to a state that is still free. There's some resiliency in your DNA. And so when I think resiliency, when I think good character, I think people that want a meritocracy, I think good conservative values. That's why I believe Arizona's red at heart. But even though it's red at heart, our demographics are changing. And so we have to be cognizant of that. You know, it's no longer a 12-point Republican advantage in Arizona. It's more a third, Republican, Democrat, and Independent. And so we have to nominate candidates this November that have the best chance of winning, or nominate in August. The candidates will have the best chance of winning in November. And I believe I'm that candidate. I've got an incredible finance team that has been helping me raise an awful lot of money. When the finance reports came out in January, I'd raised more money from more people, had more money on hand than any of my competition. And you know, the financial reports always tell a story. One of my competitors had a 76% burn rate on her money, with very little money left in the bank. Another competitor had a 50% burn rate. I had a 19% burn rate. So I was the one that had money left in the bank, and I was the one that was able to go up on the air. And we're going to have to be able to continue that so that we have, you know, we can win in November. So I should shut up. I know Andy is here. I know you're chomping at the bit to speak. But, and I have a hard stop at 7, so I've got to Should I do a couple of questions now and then? Okay, yes.
Okay, so my biggest thing is, choice. I'm a teacher, so with schools. Common Core, it's not gone. So may I ask, because I asked, Governor Ducey about, when he first started to run too, and he blatantly said to my face, yes, that's gonna be the first thing I'm going to get rid of and work on is Common Core. So again, a question to you, how are you going to then stop that infiltration that is desensitizing and keeping our kids in a slaughterhouse?
Well, I think the answer to that is full transparency. There are parents today that can't get to their kids' curriculum.
Yeah.
You can't get to it.
No.
So if we have more competition, typically quality goes up, cost typically goes down, and we have to force transparency so every parent can go online and not be, considered a terrorist, right? Just for asking questions and showing up. We've got to have transparency throughout the system, and we don't have it today. And I think that's the first thing we need to do so parents know what our kids are learning.
But my thought process is because Arizona, in 2009 or 2010, they got from Race to the Top, which is Obama's, is $25 million with that carrot in there if you went to Common Core. One, are we still getting $25 million? And again, it's a hoop, and you have to do what they want. So my thing again is, we've got to find a way that you don't take the $25 million from federal and bring everything back state and back local. So get the testing out. This testing doesn't do anything to anybody besides punishes the kids.
I don't know how to answer your question on whether or not we're still getting the 25 million.
Okay.
I do believe we're getting a lot more than that across the board, and this goes back to my point that the federal government somehow has gotten on top of this whole thing. Everything we do is now tied to the federal government.
That's what they want.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
I use this little, I'm gonna give you a little civics exam. I don't want to veer too far from your question, but how many crimes are enumerated in the Constitution?
How many what?
Crimes.
Treason?
3. Treason, counterfeiting, and piracy.
Oh, that's, yeah.
How many laws, federal laws are on the books with criminal sanctions?
Right.
How many, anybody know? Wild guess. 5,000. Those are laws that have been passed through Congress, signed by the president. And my numbers may be old, these are a couple of years old. How many rules are on the books that carry criminal sanctions? These are rules that have been promulgated by unelected,
Right.
unaccountable bureaucrats. 300,000. I'm sure we're breaking one of them right now.
Probably.
I mean, unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats, that is the definition of tyranny. So back to the federal government, and the federal government having teeth into everything we're doing. And it's not just education, it's transportation, it's environment, you name it, infrastructure. So that is maybe one of our biggest issues, and that's where I think the Republican governors again are gonna have to come together and figure it out, working with attorney generals on what we can do to push back. I mean, the Department of Education was started by Richard Nixon started the EPA.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was Carter's, as he was walking out of the office, out of the White House, it was a favor to the teachers union. So by executive order, started the Department of Education, and now we're married to it. Or the EPA. The EPA, which is involved in every aspect of our life, that was Richard Nixon.
Big in California.
I mean, I didn't see anything about the EPA in the Constitution, did you?
Nope.
Right? So anyway, we've got things upside down, and that may be our biggest challenge as Americans, is to fight back and push back against the federal government. Okay, one or two more. Yes, ma'am.
How much influence do you have, or do you think you'll have, to change things such as the border, the way it is now, and the Common Core, and, specific issues? How much confidence do you have about, stopping the illegals, doing something with the border?
Building the wall.
Building a wall. Why can't you,
Finish
do
the
you?
wall.
Yeah,
So, well, I've said, let's finish the wall. If you've seen my ads, that's what I say.
I know, but that's,
As a matter of reality, Arizona has a lot of federal land and tribal land on our border, right? governor doesn't have jurisdiction. We have 160 miles of private land, we have 20 miles of state land, but we do have jurisdiction. So we're gonna build the wall wherever we can. And I've also said that the first thing I do after I take the oath of office is to call an emergency session of our legislature. And we're gonna find the resources we need to send it to the law enforcement down on the border, local law enforcement, including our border sheriffs, to give them the money that they need to enforce the law. We have a court system down there that is backlogged. We need to provide, we don't need to go get a new court system down there. We need to provide resources to the court system we have to process cases down there. So we have got to find those resources. You're seeing in Texas, they're wanting to build the wall. They just appropriated $3 billion. Now they have this thing called oil in Texas that we don't have. So they got a lot of money. They have a lot of resources to do that. That's why I say we need to enter into a multi-state compact with other states, because it is a 50-state border war. So to answer your question, we're gonna do everything that we possibly can. Our Attorney General came out with an opinion today. I'd love to hear Andy's take on it, but he thinks that there's more we can do. If there is, we will do everything. And I think the governor has to use a bully pulpit. I've been going down to the border multiple times because I wanted to see for myself what's going on down there. In fact, I have an ad. Has anybody seen my ads, border ads?
Yes.
Okay. So Fox Sports just canceled me. We got word from them last week that they will no longer air my ads.
Guess we won't be watching it anymore.
Yeah, so they want affidavits from my campaign manager and cameraman that was with us, that we didn't hire actors. And they want me to prove the citizenship of the illegals that we saw crossing.
Oh my gosh.
Like, when you all see it in the ad, we're there, I was there that morning because I had an interview with the Yuma TV station. So we got there about a half hour before, and one of the guys said, look, so we look across the river on the other side of the border, and the tourist van, or truck, or bus shows up, and about 25 of them run across, scurry across the Morales Bridge, down at the bottom where there's about this much water. They come out, up our side, on the American side of the border, and we're standing there, you got the Border Patrol waiting for them, and we're standing there like the welcoming committee. It was crazy, and I stood there and I thought, you can come across, you can enter into the United States of America illegally, faster than you can get into an NFL football game. It's bad. So anyway, so now I've officially been canceled. So, believe me, we're sending them the affidavits. We, obviously, I can't prove the citizenship of these people that came across there illegally. And we'll see if they continue to deny my ability to run a political ad on their station. We'll see what happens. One more. I better take one more because I know I'm taking too much time.
A little comment, a little bit of history. About 25 years ago, Joe Foss was going to take an airplane to West Point. He was bringing the Medal of Honor with him. And the stupid little minimum wage person said, you can't take this, it's got points on it. Serious. And
on the plane, they wouldn't let him on the plane.
well, they did, because not only did the people, that's the one on the crowd, recognize what that was, but they called a cop over who knew what it was. My attitude is, you buy this guy a cup of coffee.
Sure, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
just
sir.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have, and I'll just tell you, my husband is here, Ed, could you wave Ed?
Hi, Ed.
And Ed was a Trump supporter before he came down the escalator. And, we raised him an awful lot of money. We had just about every member of his family in our home for fundraisers when we raised money for him. My daughter worked for him at the White House. She turned the lights out on January 20th.
Great.
And I will continue to defend his record.
Are you gonna try to go in the war room?
With Steve Bannon?
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, his brother Chris has been encouraging me to run for office for 15 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Isn't Carrie Lake running for governor?
She is.
And doesn't she have Donald Trump's?
She does.
So don't you kind of need that? He
The
can't-
endorsement I need is from the voters of Arizona. Yes.
Because I know, are you having conversations with the Trump?
Well, like I said, my daughter worked for him. We've done a lot, for Trump. In fact, I should introduce, where's Kale? Kale worked for Trump Victory, Kale is now working on my campaign team. And then Ben Mills, we got Ben from Glenn Youngkin's campaign. So we're building
Multiple people running against each other in the primaries, so he may elect to change his endorsement too. I was just wondering if you were
Yeah,
having
no.
conversations.
My focus is on you guys. Yeah. So anyway, Hunter.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to the White Mountain again.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, really appreciate all that you've done in your career and all the work you've done. Can you talk to us about what you think it is to be a public servant?
You know, I grew up in a family where it was just what we did. It was, I watched my parents get involved in all sorts of things, from church to, my dad had run for office from the time I was 5 years old in first grade, 6 years old. And so it was just what you did. And I went out, I had a great career, and I got to make a lot of money. While they're sacrificing. And now, as my brother says, it's my turn in the barrel. But, and I'll tell you this other story, and, there's any number of reasons why we made the decision finally for me to jump in this race, but one that was very impactful to me was a call I got from my son, 20 years old at the time. He called me and out of the blue and said, "Mom, you need to run for governor." And I'm like, "Okay, William, where's this coming from?" And he said, "Because you don't need it." He said, "This isn't about you." So when I think about the people that came before us, gave everything for us to be here, we owe it to them, but we also owe it to the future. And the moral health of any society is judged by what kind of future we're leaving for our kids. And so when your kid kind of puts down that marker, you can't sit back and say, "I could have and I didn't." Sometimes you have to, put a comfortable life aside and get in the fight. I served, for the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force for 15 years. Started 20 years ago as the honorary commander of Luke Air Force Base. I've served now for 5 Chiefs of Staff and 5 Secretaries of the Air Force, and they've had me all over the world, including war zones, Afghanistan, Bagram. You can imagine how I felt when the Afghanistan debacle was taking place. But seeing the young, typically men in hospitals that have been blown up and burnt and everything else, you hear their stories, you look at them, you meet them, and you realize that they're willing to put that uniform on every day, not knowing if they're coming home. And this goes for our law enforcement as well. What they do every day, not knowing if they're going to come home, so that we can have what we have. And so I said, you know what, I'm putting my career on hold. We're sacrificing, time, but I'm not taking bullets. And so it's the least I can do for this country and all of you. And I'm so appreciative of you being here tonight, because it tells me, and to have so many of you here, it tells me that you care too. You care about your kids, the future, and our state and our country. So thank you. And I know I've taken too much. Thank you.